Welcome to the B-Sides and Beers podcast.
Welcome to B-Sides and Beers, episode 22. Tonight we're digging into the world of album artwork. Tonight our guest is the super talented TREVOR STICKEL of STICKMAN Fine Art. You can find his work on stickmanfineart.com and on Instagram at stickmanart. How we doing tonight, guys? Thanks for joining the show here.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, this should be fun. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I guess we should kick it off by maybe a little bit of backstory about your whole art world and how you kind of got into things. And
sure. How far we'll go back? We'll go back probably 10 years. I've been published for 10 years. So for those that don't know what that means, just means that in most of my work, you can buy reproductions of it. So when you go to a gallery, us being Canadian, you could think of, Robert Bateman, where you got edition sizes and stuff like that. So about 10 years ago, I had some conversations with Michael Goddard, who is super successful. Some people say one of the best-selling artists in our time anyways. He's the guy that does the olives and martinis on black canvas and that type of cartoon olives.
Yeah, those are
like
awesome.
So, so got hooked up with him, and he's got a gentleman that helps run his business, the publishing side. And so got hooked up with those guys, about 10 years in the running. And, for him, he's considered the rock star of the art world. And he's a lot of good friends with a lot of musicians. He's super close with Ozzy and these type of guys. So when he saw my artwork, my stuff definitely reflects that type of stuff. Mine's all music based and pretty much rock and roll based, with a few exceptions. So it was a natural fit, and I've been with those guys ever since. And they kind of look after the business side of it, so it's pretty handy to have. And so a lot of times. That stuff is all based out of Las Vegas. So sometimes I'm confused with being a Las Vegas-based artist or a U.S.-based artist, but I do still reside in Edmonton, Canada. So still a Canadian artist.
Very cool, man. How'd you get hooked up with Mike Goddard?
I sent him an email. So I used to, I was painting, and earlier in my career, I was painting Harleys and goal masks and skidoo helmets, all that type of stuff.
So all airbrushing, or?
Back then it was. And I used to take my stuff to a body shop to get it clear coated. And the owner of that body shop here in Edmonton was Cougar Collision. And the owner of that body shop, Graham, said to me one day, "So why don't you put some of this stuff on canvas?" It seemed like a good idea. It was flat. It was white. It seemed a lot easier than painting helmets and goalie masks. So I put down, I think, 12 paintings, and I had some friends that owned lounges, bars and stuff. They owned a series of bars. So I had an art show at one of the lounges, and I think I made more in that night than 3 years of painting helmets. From that night, I've never touched another helmet. So I was doing that a little bit. I did an independent show in Vancouver, and I was working up to doing my third show here in Edmonton when I kind of got the idea to reach out to publishing. And the way I approached it was I was going to all these art galleries as I traveled. I've been lucky enough to travel a little bit. And I would walk into certain galleries that I could see my artwork being in. I mean, there's certain types of galleries that I just don't belong. And I would know that right away. And I was noticing that the galleries that I thought I would do okay in, which I'm going to just call, for lack of a better term, more blue-collar art, right? It's not high-end art that you would find in Chelsea and New York or anything like that. And it was a lot of the same art. Every time I went to these galleries, I kept seeing the same names. And so I kind of started writing these names down. And the most popular, of course, was Michael Goddard. And so I think I got about 8 or 9 names. And I was going to just research publishing, how these guys got on these galleries and that type of stuff. And I was about to email the last person on that list. And I said to myself, you know what? I might as well start at the top, shoot for the stars, right? Or shoot for the moon, settle for the stars sort of thing. So I fired, my first email was to Michael Goddard, and he replied back.
That's awesome.
And just said, it was really cryptic too. I think his email just said something like, you'll be contacted in 3 to 5 days. And then 3 to 5 days later, I got an email from this guy named Nick Landis who runs the business side of it. And the rest is history. So, kind of just took a shot and
won.
Got lucky. It's been good ever since.
Wicked.
So,
you said you're working out of Vegas? How does that?
So I paint in Edmonton, and then as soon as I'm done the painting, it gets shipped out of Vegas.
And you have a gallery that represents you in Vegas, or?
Yeah, I do. I do have I would call my home base gallery in Vegas. It's actually called Michael Goddard Art Gallery. They probably carry them more stuff than anybody else. Being a hometown, it makes it really easy. So the publishing company in Vegas, what they do is they receive it, they scan it, they do kind of like all the color touching, that type of stuff, and they make it ready for prints. And they're actually a print shop, so then they'll make chaclés, which is just a high-end print. They'll stretch canvas, that type of stuff, and then they distribute to galleries. So all my stuff just kind of lives in Vegas. Yeah, it's distributed from there.
Right on. I love Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, unfortunately, the only problem with it is when I go to Vegas now, until COVID, I was going about 2-3 times a year, is there's always 1 or 2 days of work. And as fun as Vegas is, it's not fun when you have to work. It's like staring out the window, watching everybody having fun, especially if I had a show that night. You're watching everybody at the poolside drinking cocktails, and you're just like, how drunk can I show up in my own show?
Yeah, I can honestly say I've never worked while I've been in Vegas. Like the farthest from it, actually, I've never even come close to that. So, yeah.
And then you start to argue with yourself a little bit, or you try to justify it. You say, well, wait a second, it's my show. I don't think anybody ever told Keith Richards what to do before his
Never.
show. So you try to justify it, right? So just the short story, I was the first time I was ever sitting poolside, man, I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to have a couple drinks. And I started feeling pretty good, but it was only about 1:30 in the afternoon, so I had time. And all of a sudden my phone rang, and they were like, oh, we need you to do a radio interview in person, and we need you to, like, we're sending a car for you, and you have to go in studio. And I was gassed. So I show up at this interview. Had a few under my belt, but whatever.
Oh man, if I'm drunk by 1:30, I need a nap if I want to keep going.
Well, that was my idea, right? Have a couple early in the afternoon, have a little nap, and then have my art show that night. But they threw a bit of a curveball at me. We got through it.
That's awesome. Well, I've been a huge fan of your art for a while. I still have that your first Prince one that you put out there, and that's on my wall in my living room. And yeah, it's awesome. Nice. And I still want to pick up at some point the original Lemmy that you put out. I'm gonna try and track one of those down. Yeah, so good.
It's one of the few that I actually have. I don't keep a lot of my artwork, but I do have a print. I can't afford my own originals, unfortunately, but I do have a print of Lemmy in my living room.
Kick ass.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I see you got a drink in your hand there.
Yes.
And we usually start off the show by just explaining what we're drinking and like. So what do you got there? It looked like wine.
It is wine, and I have a story behind it.
All right.
So I know you guys are called B-Sides and Beers. Back in October 1st of 2000 last year, I thought I was fighting the flu for a couple weeks, and then it wasn't getting better. So I went to the hospital in the beginning of October, and the doctor comes in and said, "You've had complete renal failure." So my kidneys weren't working. So I've been on dialysis ever since. I'm not vascular. This is actually I know we're probably not doing video, but as you can see, I do dialysis 3 times a week.
Wow.
And part of being on dialysis is you have to limit the amount of fluid you take in. So that really restricts beer drinking. So yeah, wine just a little bit easier to control your fluid amount. 3 ounces of beer just doesn't work.
Exactly.
So,
no kidding.
I need a variance today, fellas.
Oh, that's allowed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That no problem there. We usually, when we're not drinking beer, it's either because we ran out or
you bought too much Pink Whitney, or somebody's on the boobly, or
never too much Pink Whitney. No, there's never too much. That stuff is delicious.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I've had a few Merlots and Bubblies. So,
what kind of wine are you drinking, Trevor?
You know what? Good question. Ray poured it for me, and I don't even know. I'm trying to have a look here. I can't even read that far. I don't even know what it is. She just poured it, brought it over.
It's red.
I'll drink it. It's red. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. You think I've become more of a wine connoisseur since I have to drink it instead of beer, but she just knows generally what I like, and she'll just put it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I can drink the odd cocktail still, but you can't really put mix in it. So your cocktails become old fashions or Sazeracs,
short straight boozes,
or shots, right? Just do shots.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you got,
Mike? What are you drinking?
What am I drinking? Okay, I got 2 really fancy ones that I found today. So the company is called, what the hell is that? House of Funk Brewing Co. out of North Vancouver. So I've got the first one that is a farmhouse IPA called Bootsy. So it's got this really cool tarot card cartoon picture of Bootsy Collins on it. Yeah, I thought that was wicked pimp, so I had to grab that one, and that is a 6.75%, which is low for me, I guess, lately. The last couple that I've had have been like 8s and 9s, so it's crazy what these microbreweries are able to put out for alcohol content, and quite often I'm not searching for them, but they, like, the first couple that I grab tend to be higher percentage for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's just because I'm going for a more badass logo on the can or picture on the can that kind of jumps at me as being heavier and harder. But yeah, so I got that one. And the other one is also from Funkhouse Brewing Co. It's called Valhalla. It's a wild pale ale. And it's got badass Viking on it. Yeah. So
sweet.
And that one is a 5%. So yeah. Weak. That's all right.
Right on. Dane, go ahead.
All right. I saw something today in the beer store that, like, it said it was a new arrival, and I saw Big Rock, and I was like, pass. But then I looked at it, and the can is changed, but it's Grasshopper.
Wow.
Old school Big Rock Grasshopper. I used to drink this like right when I turned 18.
Far too much of it.
Yeah. Exactly. With like what did they put, like a lemon slice or something on it?
Yeah, or orange slice or something like that. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Some kind of fruit and cover the probably lack of taste. But I bought it just so I could relive my glory days as an 18-year-old drinking Grasshopper. So I got that. I'm really excited about it. And then right now I'm drinking this was a new one too, Nickelbrook Brewing Company out of Ontario. They've got something called Cause and Effect Blonde. It's cool because they have like all the stuff on the back that you're supposed to be tasting. I think this is
hints of
Interesting.
this and
The different types of hops, the different like the type of yeast, right? California
Right.
ale. The hops, there's a Magnum, a Cascade, and a Centennial, and then the malt. So it's a Pilsner, a Munich, Maris Otter, and a Carafoam. So that, I mean, like if you're a beer geek, then we'd have like a decent conversation.
we're working our
I have no
we're
idea.
working our way up to the education side of things slowly as we go. So maybe one day this will actually be an educating podcast. But for right now, it's
Yeah, I prefer the Carafoam over the.
You guys are talking about Carafoam, and I'm telling you, I'm drinking red wine and I don't know the name.
We don't know what any of those terms mean, though. That's the thing. We got no idea.
Yeah. And got to do my shout out to Aerosmith. So I've got my Mount Aerosmith Blonde and my low pressure
Awesome.
porter, which is awesome. Yeah, I grab a couple of those every weekend.
I still haven't found any of that here.
No, I was going to say that. I haven't found Mount Aerosmith. I haven't found Ace.
Yeah.
Like, I can't find any of those.
Yeah, they probably don't leave the island, unfortunately. With who knows what's going on now. Maybe things will get better by summer or something like that. But yeah, that's too bad.
And also speaking of your island prices, how we keep bringing up your $5 ferry tax. I actually found a $5 beer, and that's the Bootsy one. That's the only one. The rest of them were anywhere between like $2.50 and $3.50 and
$3.25.
Yeah, and this one was pretty well 5 even. So
Bootsy needs his cut.
Big
right?
time.
Do you think he's getting any?
Oh, probably not.
Oh, for sure.
They just stole the likeliness
Yep.
and they call them.
Yeah, that's why they made it a
Rollins
tarot
or
card with
something.
a skull Bootsy on it, so they can reasonable facsimile, but not the same damn thing.
Wow.
Trust me, there's ways around copyright.
I'm drinking.
Have you ever?
I don't know if this is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dane.
No. Go ahead. No.
I don't know if there's so many names on this, but the can was cool, and I've never heard of this kind of beer before. Well, I've heard of this brewery, Driftwood Brewing out of Victoria, but
Nice.
Viewfield Brett Saison.
Oh, a
Interesting.
saison.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's got all those kind of names that you were talking about on the back there, Dane, but I can't even pronounce some of this, like Sacharo Micus, Bretano Micus, raw wheat, barley malt, hops, water.
So the micus, I'm assuming, is your yeast.
I don't know. It must
The
be.
different types of yeast.
Must be. So I don't know. I've never had this. This is 6.3%. It's a funky, fruity panoramic for fermentation and ultra high def multicolor, whatever the hell that means. So I'm going to give that a spin. And then I got an old boy Parallel 49
Nice.
brown ale,
Nice.
which I had never heard of before. The brown ale. Yeah. And then I got a golden ale from Big Bear Brewing Company out of Kelowna.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice.
So I got one from the island, I got one from the mainland, lower mainland, and I got one from the interior. So I got it covered. But I'm gonna go to this Driftwood Brewing one and see what happens.
Right on.
Fridge is starting to make more sense now.
Yep. Got to keep it handy.
It's like kind of fruity beer.
Fruity beer.
Kind of, yeah. It's pretty good. It's not
Well,
bad.
it's kind of, we're coming up on the season of fruity beers anyway, so it's
There's so many in the liquor store now.
unreal.
It's like,
it's fruity beers and sours that keep popping up.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we got album art. Where are we starting? Nobody knows.
The list is long. So how do we want to cover this?
I'll
Yeah,
let
how do
you
we want to
guys
cover
lead.
this? Do you want to?
I was just going to pull from my my box of records here and just talk about the art, whatever I know about it, and then maybe a little bit about where I picked up the record and where it's traveled with me, and yeah.
Go for it, Dane. Go kick us off. I like that
All
idea.
right. I'll kick you guys off with a good one. Hold on. No, I'm joking.
What was that
such a
one
good album
for the
cover.
listeners so they can track it down?
That's good old boy Luke Combs. Yeah.
What's the name of the album?
What you see is what you get. Partner. First track on side one. Beer never broke my heart.
Yeah, that is the most country title ever.
That's because it is good old country. Okay, so for real though.
Exile.
Amazing.
Favorite
Exile
Stones
amazing.
album ever. Yeah,
For
So
sure.
good.
Dane, that
So
album, can I see that again? Because that looks completely different than my version.
Really? So this is an original. It's pretty
Mhm.
haggard, but
Mine looks totally different than that.
72.
It's got like the kid with the big mouth on it.
oh yeah.
I got to go get it. You guys keep going.
Yeah. Let's see.
I've never seen that.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Not only is it an amazing record, double record, but I didn't know. So obviously, because of the show, I checked out like the artist who did the cover, and it turns out it was Man Ray. So Trevor, you might know who Man Ray is. He's
I don't.
okay. So he was
Definitely not the person that did the tongue and lips. So it's
no. I think he did like the composition.
Okay.
I'll have to double check that, but as far as I understand, he did the composition for it, because it's all, basically black and white images sort of put together in some sort of like collage. But he was from a group called the Dadaists, so Dadaism, and that was like
I'm familiar with the term, but I never really dug into it.
yeah. So it was modern art kind of after World War One that was like against society, and they wanted to like break the rules and rewrite the rules and blah 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 blah. So they did a lot of interesting kind of groundbreaking art, different stuff that was like not your classical like landscape or like idealized Madonna and Child type of stuff. And so he was part of it, and he's in like MoMA in New York, and he's one of those type of dudes.
Nice.
But I didn't know that he did this cover, so
Yeah.
makes it even
So
cooler,
I'm-
I guess.
I'm an artist, but I'm not an art historian by any means. Like there's a handful that I know pretty well, but
Right.
yeah. So did you guys hear the story behind that album? Not to get off the artwork for a second, but
I
so
kind of
they
know
got
how they recorded it, but like that's about it. Yeah.
But the recording in that house, so it's one of my favorite Stone stories of all time. They all decided they were going to move to the south of France, and they rented this house called Nelcote, and I'm probably butchering how it's pronounced, but anyways, and it was just, the Stones in their prime, just partying, and some magazine editor or photographer or something, I think it was a photographer, was told he had to go for the day and do a photo shoot. So he showed up and he's like, "Here, I'm here to do a bunch of photos." So sat around the house all day where they're recording, and he started taking a bunch of photos. And at dinner time, he started to leave. And Keith says to him, "You can stay if you want." And the interviewer says, "Well, did you stay?" And the photographer says, "Yeah, I did." I said, "How long?" He said, 6 months. he showed up one day to take photos and didn't leave for 6 months. So 2 years ago, I was lucky enough. I was down in the south of France, and I went to that house. I was like, I'm going to this. It is such an epic background to XL on Main Street being recorded at this mansion that I actually went there, and I actually write about it on my website. I do have a blog on some of the places. Whenever I travel, for me, it's a rock and roll pilgrimage. I'll find out, instead of going to the Eiffel Tower, I went to Jim Morrison's grave type of stuff. So when I was in the south of France, it was
I
like
went
the
there
first
too,
thing I
man.
did. Yeah,
I went to
First thing
that.
I did
I
is
went to
like,
that cemetery too. Yeah, Père Lachaise. I walked through.
and I went to
Yeah.
I went to the Bataclan as well, where the the
Dang.
shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, hate to get off topic, but
No.
it just
That's the name of the game here, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that's.
Let's see.
This is the front cover. The back cover looks like that one,
Yeah,
So-
but yeah, like is that an inside part of it? Yeah, like
So
that's my
I
inside part. I think you're missing the front cover.
You just got like the insert slide part.
Maybe. Yeah, because that makes sense.
And then
This is just like one sleeve with like the record shoved inside. Yeah.
I got, and you have all these, like all this, the sleeves for it.
No, I picked this up in Rotterdam in some like secondhand shop.
Oh yeah, this
So-
is like, I don't know. This is an original too. Like it's pretty beat up chewed up on the sides and stuff. but-
Wow.
Yeah,
There
so
you
there you
go.
go. You're I think
That's
you're missing
probably it.
the main. I always think of this
The main
kid, the
thing.
kid with the big mouth. That's always what
Oh,
I.
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like the one of the
Yeah,
pool balls?
with
The
the
three
big
balls in
yeah.
his mouth.
Yeah, the pool.
Yeah,
ball.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, there you go.
Yeah. So that's what it's supposed to look like. There you go. It's really interesting. I was going to say that an album that sounds so much like American rock and roll, or rather influenced by American rock and roll, was recorded in the south of France by a bunch of Brits. It's kind of like, it's weird when you think about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, mine is kind of on the same track, and this was an album that I used to put on like all the time because I get to pick the album when I was a kid, and when I cleaned the house, I got to pick the album, and I would go to this one all the time. And this is the original one, even from when I was a kid. So, but this album cover is still.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
great
Just
one.
all of them pushed up against the glass. Yeah. And then like this on the back, like, and then
What you gotta see the titles, man. So if anybody's listening, they can track it down.
oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I guess so. This is Rolling Stones Through the Past Darkly Big Hits Volume 2. Yeah. But I always saw it too. I'm like, where is Mick Jagger? Like Mick Jagger doesn't even look like Mick Jagger in that picture. Like, you know,
Where is he?
I think that's him. Because that's Brian Jones. That's Bill Wyman. That's Keith Richards. That's Charlie Watts,
that's
right?
it.
So, but you can
Right.
see, you can clearly see Mick on the back, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
look like him on the front. So I was like, where is he? Anyways, so that was one of my classic picks from when I was a kid.
Nice.
One thing about the Stones is back then they did so many compilation albums that you can't even like. I'm a huge Stones guy. I've never even seen it.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
I've never even seen it, and like, I'll go to like thrift shops or stuff like that. I'll run into Stone albums that I'm just like, where did this come from? I've never even heard of this, and it's all the
Right.
same songs, right? It's all like the greatest hits through to 68 or to 70 or whatever it would be. But man, they just reissued so much stuff.
And really,
They had to management getting all their money.
yeah. and then picking out different ones like what's the one not Knights in Satan's Service. What the heck is that one called? The Stones.
Oh yeah, the Honor Majesty's or Majesty's Satanic
Yeah, yeah.
Service. Yeah. Yeah. That was
Right.
like the kind of like the Sgt. Pepper's ripoff almost, right? Or
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so many great album covers, right? Like Sticky Fingers, so good. Like I've got that album with the working zipper
Awesome.
on it.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Let It Bleed.
Beggar's
is a good
Banquet
one.
was one of my
Beggar's
favorites.
Banquet's good. Goat's Head Soup is another good one, right? Like just lots of iconic ones from that band.
Well, with
Yeah. Oh, you got another one?
Always
They
gravitated-
weren't all good.
See, there's another one like Trevor was talking about, right? Like there's another, I've never
Yeah.
seen that one, right? Like
Right.
Oh,
there's
man.
one that I've never seen before.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool with Sticky Fingers. I found a thing where they were talking about how the first couple thousand that were shipped out, they were damaged because the zipper was all the way up, and then they figured out if they had it like halfway down, it wouldn't wreck the album. So they're following runs. They had to do it like 3/4 down, otherwise it was gonna. There was one song in there that was unplayable just because of how the zipper was pressing on it.
Yeah, my copy is like pristine. I got it off of this guy that was like in Alberta Beach. He bought this. We went to his place one time, and he had this whole like other garage built just for his vinyl. Wow. And I could just walk through there at any point and just pick and choose what I wanted, and he would give me like these unbelievable prices on it. And one of those was Sticky Fingers, because I was looking all over the place for it, and it was like pristine, and it was like $10.
Wow.
So yeah, I got like Appetite for Destruction there. I got like all these albums that I hadn't seen before, right? So yeah, just some cool.
I missed that interactive album thing, like Physical Graffiti
Zeppelin
from
3.
Zeppelin, Slide.
Zeppelin 3, yeah.
Alice Cooper with the underwear in it, or the $1 billion bill.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I started collecting vinyl again. It had nothing to do with the sound. I mean, every piece of vinyl I have it digitally as well. But you just really lost that pageantry of the album.
Something
art.
extra.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah.
And me being an artist, I was always drawn to that. Like I mentioned Beggar's Banquet. One of the reasons I like Beggar's Banquet is I always loved the illustrated albums. Like,
oh yeah,
I got a brother who's 4 years younger than me, so I was listening to stuff maybe a little bit ahead of my time. But I remember late 70s staring at Kiss Destroyer.
Yep.
Hours. I was like, I want to draw this damn thing someday. So like that was the like initial love of artwork was Kiss Destroyer. That's just the cool painting. Yeah, I mean,
nice.
Can't be understated. Exactly. You know what? I mean, Kiss takes a lot of shit for their current state, but their influence can't be understated.
It's the showmanship, man. I mean, when you look at Kiss Alive, just how badass that cover was, right?
Yeah, and they weren't even an arena band when Kiss Alive came out.
Nobody liked them before Kiss Alive came out. I mean,
didn't they have a comic book?
They had everything. Yeah.
Oh,
Gene has everything. So.
Yeah.
Kiss Love Gun's a good album cover too.
Kiss is the one band that I'm terrified of when it comes to copyright stuff. Like I've done one Gene Simmons painting, and I just sold it as an original because copyright issues kind of come in more when you do reproduction prints. I've done a few other Kiss ones, but they've not really been like a picture of the band member so much. I did one of just Gene's tongue. Unless he copyrighted his tongue, which he may have.
Probably has. Probably, yeah.
He probably has. So yeah, you gotta be careful with Kiss. That's for sure.
Well, it's funny too when you look at different album covers and how they choose to go with a drawing or painting style as opposed to a in the moment photo or some obscure photo. And I know for the most part, when you put on an album cover, you think of something that's going to stand out because, back then you didn't really have a chance of listening to it. And it was so difficult to get albums if you didn't have a store near you. And even if you did, I mean, you had to special order out of a magazine and wait 3 months for them to ship it to you. And if it got to you, you'd be lucky if it wasn't broken or, so you're just taking a chance and just seeing the cover art and I remember as a young guy going to record stores and not knowing, you knew a lot of names because of TV or radio and that sort of thing, but there were so many albums that I picked up just because of the cover art alone. And I had no idea what it was. So
it's funny, man. It's totally different now. Hey, like it's flipped completely. I know so many albums, and you guys have probably experienced this too, where you'll listen to an album that you had digitally for a long time, and then you'll find the actual hard copy of that album, and you're like, I didn't even know this inside part exists, or like this artwork is on the inside, right? Or that's what the back cover looks like. I had no idea, right? Like it just, you kind of go backwards on it now rather than being like, oh, that album is, the art is sweet, that's why I'm buying it, or, whatever. But it's just, it flips it on its head.
I think my first 2 or 3 Iron Maiden albums were just because of Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
right.
I have no idea what's inside this, but I am buying. Again, it was illustrated, and it was so awesome. That cover art. I mean, to this day, Eddie's like, I mean, man, that is the most genius branding of all time.
What is that all about? I remember it, but I don't understand. Was he just like their mascot?
Originally wasn't it just like a head that they had on stage, and they used to call it, Heady instead of, and someone just kind of rolled with it and started calling it Eddie, and then they just sort of went with it.
And it had like the mustache and the bald head, like,
too damn cool, and how something like that just spins off into and just coming off with an original logo that is so iconic, like Rolling Stones with the lips, or something like that no one else could copy that, because that's exactly what that is, right? It can't be mistaken for anything else. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
What do you got there, Mike? What's in your bag of tricks?
I got so much stuff here. I don't even know where to start. So years ago, I mean, growing up, thankfully, I was raised in a very musical house. My pops was huge into rock and heavy metal through his, 60s, 70s, 80s and on kind of thing. And he had, growing up, we always had the vinyl around, and we always had the 8 tracks around, and we had hundreds of cassettes. And so I grew up with so much of this stuff. And a couple of years back, my pops was just kind of clearing out all the vinyl that he, they've been sitting in boxes for years, and some of them had a little bit of water damage on them, so he was just kind of turfing a bunch. So before he got rid of them, I started digging through a bunch to get, try and get the coolest ones I could. And I mean, these are all the ones that I have are like original pressings of, which is pretty rad. But I mean, you look at something simple like George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. Just how simple that cover is. It's just him sitting in a field with, garden gnomes sitting around him. I mean, and it's all black and white.
Big ass beard.
And a big ass beard, as it should be. And you go from stuff like that to the Kiss stuff we were talking about, or you look at Ian Gillan Band, and you've got all these kind of sword and sorcery Conan type stuff, right?
That belongs on the side of a van.
That early metal stuff was all mythology, right? I mean, before it was all about what it is now, which is a lot of inward thinking and that type of stuff, which is fine. But the early metal was so much based on mythology, like the Four Horsemen type stuff, and I think it transferred over to you guys remember the heavy metal magazine,
and a lot of that was Frank Frazetta stuff. Totally, like man. Yeah. So and then I mean, we got some fancy sort of. I got Grand Funk shining on that. It's one of those you have to have the blue and red 3D glasses for them.
3D. What year was that? Does it say?
1974.
Oh, that's earlier than I would have thought. For 3D, that must have been state of the art.
So I have. Oh, I got the glasses for him too. Yes.
See, that's the find, right?
I got the damn glasses too. Yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, everything on this was, there's a couple of them that are water damaged, but for the most part, this one's perfect. I got a bunch more Grand Funk. There's Grand Funk. It's just a self-titled red and white, which is pretty cool. Nice. Grand Funk Live was always a cool cover, just with them rocking out. Yeah,
so those are cool, man. I've never seen those before.
Yeah. Like there's so much. I mean, you can get into Fleet Mac Rumors, how simple that is. And I found a lot too with most of the albums. I mean, even with CDs when we did that before, and you would dig into all the sides of the art, and you would have all the lyrics, and then you look at the back, like, and even the stuff on the back was so interesting and iconic. And now that you have everything's digital, sure, you might have the cover, like the front cover, but no one ever knows what the back looked like. So
Mhm. Man, whenever you found a sleeve with lyrics, that was a find. That was jackpot when you used to buy one with lyrics.
Yeah.
Trevor, you got any albums there?
I do, but I didn't bring them up here. I have to step away for a second, but I can. You guys do the next one,
Yeah,
and let
totally.
me grab a couple.
Sure.
I'll
Sounds
jump.
good. Dane, go back to you.
I got a bunch, but one that I didn't even really prepare for, just sort of popped up into my head was you're taking a look at these album covers, and it was almost like an extension of that identity, right? That band's identity. And it made me think of Tool, right away, and Alex Gray. All the Alex Gray artwork that they used. I don't know if I'm not really sure about the last couple of albums, but back in university when I was listening to a lot of Tool, I was also like really into Alex Gray. And this guy is an amazing artist. He started off as a guy that would do illustrations for medical textbooks. So he really has like this amazing handle on anatomy. But then you just dump a bunch of LSD on it. And it's this very spiritual, like and not in any sort of corny way, but he does all of these kind of like different, there's death, there's sex, there's giving birth. He's done all of these type of paintings, and he'll show like the energy and different colors kind of surrounding the person. And it's very like metaphysical, but also like very accurate as far as the anatomy. So
it makes sense.
Awesome
like,
stuff
to know that about that, because I'm assuming like I had Enema on my list. Enema, was, and I'm assuming he did Enema.
To that step away, you guys are talking Tool. I was like, damn,
we can rewind a little bit. Yeah,
Alex Gray, man. Yeah, Alex Gray.
Yeah,
but even like Lateralis too, right? Like that kind of stuff,
yeah.
right? So yeah.
Trev, do you know if Alex Gray did all of the albums, even the last couple, or? No.
I don't know, to tell you the truth. Well, their lawsuit, they had a lawsuit with Alex Gray, but it didn't sound like it was their relationship was tried by it. So it's probably some corporate stuff. But one of the reasons why, I might have this wrong, but I believe I read that one of the reasons it took so long between albums was there's a bunch of lawsuits, and some of it was with Alex Gray or his camp. I'd have to look into that, but I think I read something like that.
That's
so
too bad.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. No, I don't think it strained the relationship with Alex Gray at all, because I follow Adam Jones, and they still share tons of stuff. So I think I read that it didn't strain their relationship. I'm sure it's
got to be
corporation.
Someone didn't pay someone, and
who knows, right?
Yeah. But yeah, just going back to this like extension of like a band's identity. When I was younger, I'm not really sure when. I think Enema was the first time that they had used Alex Gray, because before that,
Undertone,
it was
OPA.
Undertone, and it was more like photographs and kind of whatever. But so I was probably 14 or 15 when Enema came out, and it was just this like pivotal moment in my life where I was getting into other things and understanding other things. And that whole album was just like a very nice introduction into psychedelics and all of that sort of thing that went along with it. It was just like this amazing album that had this artwork that really went well with the music and really communicated what the music was about. And then you kind of put that into a 15-year-old's brain, and it's just like, this
life changing.
Fucking amazing. This is life changing. Yeah.
And they continue to just kind of mess with you a little bit. So, when I started following Tools, is like pre-internet days for me. I mean, they were faceless. I couldn't tell you, every poster. They never showed Maynard. They never showed anything. And they just seemed like this band that was kind of just out there, out in the ether. And then you'd hear an interview walk in. They're like, they weren't what I expected. They're, literally wearing, Danny Carey's wearing like a basketball jersey and high tops. He's like, he's not what I was expecting, right? So they were they were that anomaly, that faceless thing. And Maynard's the one guy. I ran into him in Los Angeles.
I remember
Wow.
this story.
I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't talk to him. I was like, you know what? We were in the same lounge. I was like, you know what? I've met some people, but if I go over there and he's an asshole, he is going to ruin so much for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let him be. I sat there and I stared at him like a stalker.
That was probably worse than just.
It was probably worse. He's probably used to it. He's just like middle-aged white dude just eyeing me up from across the lounge. He knows exactly what I was doing.
Some tiny bar in LA with no sign out front.
Well, here's the thing. The entire bar is like high-end. Everyone's dressed up. Everyone wears like suit jackets. He's like jeans and a mohawk. And you just knew that he could do it.
Yep.
He's Maynard. Do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Do whatever he wants. So, no. So, anyways, I grabbed a few albums. This first one is one of those albums that I remember the first time I seen it. I was 6 years old, and when I look at it now, it's kind of campy. But at 6 years old, it absolutely terrified me.
Yes.
Madman.
Diary of a Madman. Black Sabbath kind of terrified me anyways, because I was so young when I was listening to it, or because my brother was older. But when the image of Ozzy here, which, like I said, is pretty campy now, but man, that used to terrify me back
definitely
in the day.
at the time.
That motherfucker's satanic.
Yeah, and it stuck with me. And when you can remember the first time you saw something, it made an impression.
Yeah. Well, the whole Ozzy thing was definitely, we've been over this before, but I mean, I used to get put to sleep as a baby to Black Sabbath, right? So it was from start, some of my earliest memories were Sabbath albums, the covers, the whatever, right? So even if you weren't totally mad,
right.
and even if you were too young to understand what's going on, those images still burn in your brain, right? So
those riffs burn in
unreal.
your brain, man. They are just
no one will ever touch Tony with the solid riffs, and he's one of those guys that just never runs out of riffs and never really repeats himself, which is huge.
Yeah, and they seem like, I'm not a guitar player, I'm not a musician by any means. They almost seem a little bit on the simple side on purpose, but so like there's no filler. Like it's just every time. And I don't know how to, probably speak about that because I'm not a musician, but I don't know. There's something simple about it, but something so cool. Like you just.
Well, it's as simple as it had to be.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look back to their first album, and they recorded it over, I think it was over 2 days, and it was done it was recorded on two 4-track recorders. So all the drums were done. I think all of the drums were done on one channel, kind of thing. So it's so basic, and it was so right off the floor.
Recording.
Everyone has their own track, kind of thing, and that's what you get on the record. I mean, the drums on the first album, I'm pretty sure was mono. So like it's so stripped down. So that's what you get, right? And it didn't need to be anymore, which was cool.
That was before the days when they got their cocaine delivered to the studio in a cereal box.
Mounds and mounds.
Yeah. Just a cereal box show up.
Well, talking about albums that freaked you out, I'll throw one into the mix because this one still kind of scares me. But this, again, this is another album that my dad had. Came out in 1980. So, like, this was around since I was around. And this one.
Oh, yeah, the Nuge.
What is he doing?
He's wearing a loincloth.
Guitars growing out of
He's got a loincloth. He's got
arms,
two
man.
Gibsons growing out of his arms.
Grow as hands.
Yeah. I often say when someone says, what do you try to, what kind of look do you try to achieve with your art? One of the answers I give is, I haven't been able to get there, but what I strive for is a visual feeling that I get when I hear
Yep.
Stranglehold. Like, I got Top to do an edit for me once on Stranglehold because it was too long. I was going to do it for.
I think that was the last time we
project, but-
talked. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Like Stranglehold. I mean, that is the album. I mean, that is
Yeah,
the
Trev
song,
Co-
man.
And to go along with that picture, here's the inside cover, which you guys will appreciate.
Yeah.
Is he holding a gun? He's
Of course
holding
he is.
guns.
He's staying true
course
to who
he
he
is.
is, I guess.
Oh man. Kind of,
And then you
Fuck
can
yeah.
order all your Ted Nugent gear on the backside of this.
Nice.
T-shirts and your
fuck yeah.
badges
baseball
and your
shirts
Ted
and, yeah.
Nugent visors. Yeah.
TNT.
Yeah. Well, the last time we talked, Trev got a hold of me, and he had some art show coming up, and he needed me to cut out the entirety of the guitar solo on Stranglehold, and that was a bitch to do, but I did it, and I was surprised. It was one of the first time that I actually did that sort of an edit and a cut, and it worked out so well. Like, it was seamless. Yeah.
Seamless. I mean, it's a great solo or whatever you want to call it, but it was
it's
6
like
minutes or
fucking-
something.
what are you gonna do with 9 minutes?
It was just too long. I just needed. Yeah, but it was. It's still on my iPod. Tell you the truth, on my iPhone. That edit you
Awesome,
have is still on
awesome.
there. It's awesome. Yeah.
John, every once in a while still.
Where did you pick that up?
Me?
Yeah.
That was my dad's. That's the original, like, from
Oh.
when I was a kid. So, like, I remember finding that in the records, like, going through it, and I was like, whoa, what is going on? This guy's got guitars growing out of his arms, like, and he's screaming, and that's the original one from 1980. So I don't have any other Ted Nugent albums except for that one. So
There's so much drama in like this album art from like the 80s and like late 70s. It's always like involving like chairs and like big heeled shoes and roses in their mouths and fucking like, it's like, what the fuck is going on? And the front is something absurd like
that.
Ted Nugent.
It was
Yeah.
it was the
Ours
years of
for hands.
excess, man, where the studios
Right.
had more money than they knew what to do with, so they just spent all this money on weird ass crazy art, and
There's
nothing.
there's no continuity in that. It's just like someone's shitty idea on the front cover,
Yeah.
and then like someone else is like, all right, let's dress him up in a mariachi band fucking costume, and then like get
Yeah.
him jumping.
Yeah. And let's get a leather jacket on you and just kind of hold a small little gun.
and then you
That was probably his art direction.
Probably.
I'm bringing my
Here's what
guns.
we're gonna do,
Exactly.
I'm
boys.
bringing my guns.
Hold my pistol.
And this one here is the exact opposite of that. This one, I think that they're really trying to tell you something, and I've been staring at this for 30 years. I have no idea what the message is, but I feel like there's a message in here somewhere.
Oh yes.
AC/DC,
Dirty
Yep.
deeds.
3D. These people with the
Yeah.
blacked out eyes, and then on the back, they're gone, but the blacked out part for their eyes
That's
is still
so
there.
cool, man.
I feel like
Oh.
there's something to this. I need someone to explain it to me. I don't know what it is, but it's only been bugging me for 30 something years.
Well, the interweb is vast and deep, so there's got to
You know
be
what? I've
something.
never even
Man.
thought to Google it. Yeah. Well, what is the meaning of the Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap
Yeah.
cover?
Oh, it's just so much craziness. And then I got another one here.
I blew my daughter's mind
Oh, yeah, go.
the other day there with AC/DC because she listened to Hell's Bells. She was listening to that and she's like, Dad, I don't like this.
What?
I was like, okay. I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, you know that AC/DC had two singers, right? And she was like, what? So I played her some old stuff and she's like, I
This
like
is
this
better.
way better.
Yeah.
Like this way better. And
I'm
then I
not
played
fan.
something else for her, Brian Johnson. She's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, what about this? And she liked the Bon Scott instead. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid and being scared of the Brian Johnson like scream. I was like, this guy must be satanic.
yeah.
Or he's going to be grabbing your taxi.
Yeah.
Something bad, something not good. I remember hearing I remember I was skiing as a little kid, and then I went into like the pro shop, and they had it blasting in the pro shop, and I was just like, these guys are bad. They probably do drugs because they're listening to AC/DC.
Probably.
In my neighborhood, that was the Black Sabbath t-shirts. You knew if you went to the park and you saw some older kids wearing Black Sabbath t-shirts, you know it was going to smell funny in that park.
It smells like Otto's jacket.
Yeah.
Mike, I saw you had that Santana album. That's another classic
I've
there
got
too.
like 5 Santana albums, and none of them make any sense, but they're just
Yeah.
When
I had the Santana greatest hits one on my list too.
Yep.
Just him or somebody holding the dove.
well, it's funny too when you look at all these.
That is
it's
awesome.
so good.
Yeah.
But when you look at these albums and they all have placement of the band's name at the top because you gotta have to filter through the racks to find things, right? And then you look at some of these Santana ones and there's no writing on the front at all. Like the only writing is when
Not even on the side,
it doesn't
man,
even
not even on
say
the spine.
that one it doesn't even have Santana until you open the damn thing up. So you have to buy it first to figure out what it is.
You have to know what you're and you can't even use the interweb to
Nothing.
find out.
Nope.
So you guys were showing your the inserts that you found, your zipper still worked, and you found your glasses. This is the only one that I've been lucky enough that actually had the insert, and this is Alice Cooper
nice.
$1 Billion Babies, and it still has the
yeah.
$1 billion bill in it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Nice.
It was a find.
Wow.
So
Well,
cool.
most of mine still have the inserts, which is really cool. The one that I would assume would be the absolute hardest to find an insert for would be Bob Marley's "Catch a Fire," because the original one came with rolling paper the size of the album inside.
You're not gonna
Gone.
Yeah, that's a tough one to find.
Montrose.
Going back to many conversations of ours, anyway. Flip keeps ringing out Montrose.
What's this?
If you could
That's
put
Sammy
a year-
Hagar's first
Yeah,
band.
No way.
Oh, and it's so good, man. Do yourself a favor and throw it on
I've never heard
tomorrow
of
and
it.
just crank it. It's so good. It's like Sammy
had to have
Hagar.
been
Like 77?
This was
No, really?
This is Can't Drive 55. Is it?
Oh,
this
no,
stuff,
like,
or is
no,
it
not that kind
pre-
of stuff. This is pre Van Halen. This is
I'm
pre
just-
all that.
I'm going by art. It looks like 80s art to me. It
Yeah.
looks
it's
like
got
that.
Bad Motor Scooter on it. You know that one.
Fuck
1973.
Oh, wait.
Holy cow.
73. There you
It's
go.
got a very Miami Vice feel to it. So I thought for sure it was
Yep,
the 80s.
73.
Where is he? Hold on. He's in the middle, obviously. Let's see that again.
There he is,
Where the fuck
right hand
he's on
side.
the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Look at that chain that guy's wearing. Wow.
Shirts off, eh?
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be Robert Plant.
Yeah. Wow.
Have you ever got on your own 737 while not wearing a shirt?
Not yet, anyway.
I wish.
Not yet, anyway. So we got Zeppelin
So good.
1, which is always so cool.
You could do an entire episode on Zeppelin.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so iconic.
Houses of the Holy.
The funniest thing that stood out for me in my digging for info was on Zeppelin 1 when it debuted. When they were on tour, they had to change their name going to Denmark because of all the actual connection to to the Hindenburg. So that when they toured Denmark, they were called the Knobs.
Really?
Didn't know that.
You didn't go back to the
Nope.
Yardbirds. Yardbirds
Yardbirds.
2. Call
Yeah,
themselves a sequel. The Yardbirds.
Also, Yardbirds also. We got some original Star Wars.
Yeah. It's interesting how you can see the wear of the actual
circle.
vinyl. It looks like stars.
Yeah,
It almost looks like the Death Star, kind of
So
like.
damn cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, and that's
And it's got like Darth Vader like in the snow on the back cover or something like that. doesn't
no,
it?
it's just his
No,
face in the
really?
stars. So
Oh,
See, I always thought it was
snow?
like in the snow when I was a
Yeah.
kid. I thought it was
He's
like,
in Edmonton.
yeah,
That's quite the memory. You remember that?
What else we got here? We got
master reality.
Master Reality. I like how it was kind of, what do they call that, embossed, or what is that, where it's...
Oh, I didn't know that.
it's-
Oh, I did not know that.
Very cool.
And just to come up with
Mine's
something
like
like that, even, just to make it pop out that next level, right?
I wonder if that was back in mind of Metallica when they
It
did the
had to
Black
have been.
Album.
I was just thinking.
Not embossed, but it's kind of, they kind of put that little sheen on
It had to have
on the
been, yeah,
snake
so you
or
can only
whatever.
see the snake at a certain angle.
Yeah. Right.
Black Sabbath 13, yeah, this is the full fancy box set thing.
That wasn't your dad's, was it?
No, we bought that when it was, because that came out in, what was that?
Yeah.
2015?
2013, so yeah.
Oh my God. I saw them on that tour. I can't believe it's that long ago.
Yeah, unreal.
And Rainbows, yeah. Such a good album. man.
Did you watch that video that I sent you on their the artist that they he's the same guy that, for every single album. What was his name?
Yeah.
What is it? Stanley Donwood is his name. Yeah, and
There you go.
he's
Yeah.
done everything. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
what else you got?
I picked this one too.
Oh man, that album. That was up there with Kiss Destroyer.
Meatloaf.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Oh,
You got to say the names, dude.
Hell, man. There you go, Dane. Yeah, you know it.
Yeah.
what's that? What do you?
That's the back cover.
Oh, that's the back cover.
Yeah.
Front to back, that album's like everybody knows every song on that album. Like
Yeah.
word for word.
Yeah.
Like
I need to know right now. Man, we were just laughing about Meatloaf the other day. I forgot what it was. It was super funny. I think it's just like you can't get away with stuff. Like can't get away with like the theatrics of Meatloaf anymore.
no.
No,
Can't get
it's
over the plot.
again something that probably seems campy, but
It's like borderline show tuney.
yes.
Well, that's what he was, right? He was a Broadway guy. And
Okay, I didn't
the
know
Broadway
that.
actor, and then the producer of one of the Broadway producer on the Broadway scene or whatever just says, "Listen, I want you to sing his songs." And he was kind of a packaged guy, but he was a
Wow.
Broadway dude.
You can tell,
Ah.
really. I mean, you wouldn't know to make the connection, but you could tell he was that level of performer, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why he kept doing bit parts. You'd find him here and there. He was in Fight
Yep.
Club and stuff like that. It's because he had acting
Bob.
chops from way back.
His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
Right.
His name is Robert Paulson.
Wow, I'm gonna grab some.
We got some
Oh, yeah.
Zeppelin 3 with the actual spinny parts.
Zeppelin 3. I didn't know it spun
Yeah,
like that.
so cool, man. Yeah, I definitely miss when album covers had a little bit of interesting flair to them, and
No
yeah.
kidding.
Zeppelin
Yeah,
3?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
Zeppelin 3?
mine,
Yeah.
does yours have the spin? Mine has the spin, the original one.
Yeah, I got that one. I got the same thing from that guy in Alberta Beach. I got all the Zeppelin,
Really?
like mint condition.
No way.
of this. Yeah, because I wanted to get them all, so I got I even got the In Through the Outdoor with like the brown paper on
cool.
it. Yeah, like just I got them all. Got them all. Got Coda. Got Presents. I got
Wow.
all that.
Now that's another thing with presents. What
Mhm.
what would your explanation be for this?
The album cover,
Like-
with the the black thing that's on the
That's in every single
front
picture.
cover. it's like
all the
black
pictures on
monolith.
the back, on the front, on the middle, on the everything has this.
You know what it's supposed to signify?
Is it like
It's
a
supposed to
mind control
signify-
thing, or
No, it's supposed to signify the power of all four of them together.
oh,
That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like the power of Led Zeppelin in like one object.
crazy?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Huh.
That's what I heard. So
Oh,
yeah. But like Robert Plant had to record that entire album sitting like in a wheelchair, right? Like there was
what?
Yeah, he had a car accident. He had a car accident. So they were like, they didn't want to record, and then he ended up doing the recording like from a wheelchair, legit. And then the majority of it was all done by like Jimmy Page. Like it was pretty much a Jimmy Page record.
Well, most
Like
Didn't they borrow the Stones mobile recording studio for it?
well, I don't know.
One of
They
them
might
did.
have. Yeah, they might have.
Yeah, the Stones had a mobile
Yeah.
recording studio.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, it's in
Yeah.
Calgary right now.
in Calgary, yeah.
I tried to check it out
Right.
last year before. I think it was 2 years
Yeah.
ago. I tried to check it out, but the day that I went there, the room that they had it in was closed. It's like, damn
It's
it! Like
locked.
you have to buy
Yeah, me
tickets for the tour kind of thing, and I had no idea.
Dude, just break in at 2 a.m. and
Oh.
record something.
Oh,
Any, just record.
so cool.
It's done lots of albums too. That thing. It did like Bob Marley live.
A lot of live shows,
There's
definitely.
a whole bunch. There's a whole list.
That's cool.
It did.
You could, if you ever make it down to Nashville, you could also do that at Third Man. You could just walk in and
Oh
record
yeah,
something.
that would be
You know,
so
so-
cool. What a setup that is, man! And
Yeah.
pressed in house and everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really cool.
Well, Neil Young did that whole album from that old like recording booth. The whole album was recorded in that old style recording
Third Man?
booth. And Third Man, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
So
Jack
cool.
White came in there for a couple songs with him too, but it's all like
Oh,
in those,
wow.
one of those old ones. I don't even know the years on it.
Not gonna lie, when I was in there, every time the door opened, my head spun. Just thinking, is he gonna show up here today? I even found out what kind of car he drove, so I'd know if he was there or not. Not that it was stalking, but I was like, all right, if I see a black Mercedes
Yeah.
SL class, I know
It
the
helps
Jack
to do
there
your
today.
homework.
Oh, Mercedes.
No luck,
Yeah.
no luck.
I thought he was going to drive like a Chevette or something like that. Like,
Oh, well,
that-
you know, he's probably got like a
Chevette.
35 Ford or something too. But yeah,
This one's I got another one here that's on my kind of list, but this one I found in Parksville when I was visiting my dad, and it was in the pawn shop, and I saw it there, and I was like, man. It was one of those albums I kind of regret buying, so I ended up sending my dad back in there and got him to buy it for me, and then send it to me and ship it to me. But it's this one.
Velvet Underground.
oh,
Yeah,
so good.
Nice.
I only ever had it on
It
CD,
used to
but
have,
yeah,
like the original pressings of it had you could peel off the
the banana.
banana.
Oh, really?
And it would reveal
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a flesh colored banana. But
Ooh.
this isn't that version of it. But anyways, yeah, they
Very cool.
I got him to go back in
Wow.
and get it, because I'm like, I think I got to have that album, man.
How is the album?
It's
I
good.
don't know much about the album.
Yeah, I didn't know much either. But it's pretty trippy. Like it's a different experience. Just throw it on one day and see
It's
what you think.
definitely worth a multiple listens. Nico is something else, not in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only. Well, personally, that's the only thing that I've ever liked of Lou Reed. So.
Yeah.
You didn't like his album with time.
Oh, Lulu.
We talked about that in this in the Metallica
Oh, man.
episode. Yes,
That was a hard,
Yeah.
hard
Lulu.
But
listen.
tell me how cool would have been back in the day though, just to be in New York during that era where you would go to Max's Kansas City, and on any given night it was Lou and Iggy
Yep.
and David Bowie just hanging around. Just, I mean, me being an artist, the creativity that stems from that, right? You got
Yep.
Warhol in the corner, Bowie, who is pretty much an ear
Mhm.
artist anyways, right? Yeah,
just
it was,
that really.
it would have been a scene, man. It
Oh
would have
yeah,
just been a
just that,
scene.
you
For
know,
sure.
that area of town that was so depressed, and the only people that wanted to move in there were arts type people, and then they just made this whole scene out of it, right? So for yeah.
Yeah, I think Mick Rock, the photographer Mick Rock, was hanging around with him at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was Mick Rock. I could be wrong, but it was one of them. And he labeled them the father,
Yeah.
David Bowie, the father. No, sorry, Lou Reed was the father, the son,
Yeah.
and the Holy Ghost. And I've been thinking of a way to work those three into a painting called The Father,
Oh,
Son,
man,
and the
that
Holy
would be
Ghost
cool.
for so long. Yeah, gotta figure it out. But it was a cool way to label the three.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much other Lou Reed that I can get into.
Yeah, and then digging into stories of just the shit he was into, and the tail end of his life. It's like
Literally?
different. No thanks, no thanks. There's some mental issues going on with that. So his body of work wasn't strong. His body of work wasn't strong enough for me to let those things slide in my. So
Yeah. What did he do?
That's for a different podcast.
that one's definitely not for the kids. So
That's awesome.
What else you got there, Dane? What else is in your pile?
All right. Well, this is going back to some guilty pleasures.
Oh, yes. Heck yes. I got that one, man. Absolutely.
Phil Collins.
Studio.
He's sweating too.
Oh, it's so hot. It's so hot when you're so hot.
So when you put this on, it's just like, yeah, blast in the face. It's a great album.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
I'll recuse myself. I've never really been into Phil Collins.
My parents were really into him when I was younger.
Yeah.
And who knows what that was about. So it's sort of like a nostalgia blast from the past.
Definitely
but it's
an
good.
80s
I mean,
thing.
like, yeah. I had this apartment in Rotterdam where it was actually a huge apartment, but it was in kind of a shitty part of town that was actually really awesome. But long story short, it had this big sort of like living room that went into a dining room, and I had not any furniture. I think I had like a couch and a chair, and that was it, and a record player. And I'd throw parties, and they'd usually wind up being dance parties, and it would just be records. No one was taking out their phones. There was no like Spotify. It was just putting
Live
the
it in
records
the
on.
moment.
And like Phil Collins would always make the cut. And we'd have everyone just like dancing, having a great time. And then the next day, I would have Mr. Kandam at my door yelling at me in Dutch because he was the.
Just gotta, you had to just invite him to some of the parties, and then he would have backed off.
He was actually a wonderful man, but he was a Turkish guy, so not much of a partier. He was more of a. Came over and helped me fix a window once, but yeah, he was a nice guy. Anyway, yeah, this one.
What is it?
Maybe
Say it.
Take the plastic off. I don't know if you can see it. So this is. I thought it was called. So they're called Gallo Negro, but it's cumbia out of Mexico. So
it looks cool cover though, man.
Yeah, it almost looks like Shepard Fairey-esque, like kind of that style, that pop art.
So I still have a really good friend. He's from Mexico City, and we both lived in the Netherlands. And he went back to Mexico City, and for my birthday, a year after he moved, this came in the mail, and I was like, "Oh, awesome!" And I put it on, and it's this like dark, very slow cumbia. So cumbia is kind of like dun 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 dun. It's kind of upbeat, but this was very slow, and it's called negro cumbia, which is obviously dark cumbia. And what it is that you would have cumbia records that were pressed on thin vinyl, and it would get really hot, and those vinyls records would expand, and the songs would play slower, right? So you get this sort of like slowed down, like cumbia, and they eventually called it cumbia negro or negro cumbia, whatever. And then, so these guys are like, they go on stage and they wear like, you can't see their faces. They wear like hoods.
Trippy.
Yeah. And it's like this, they're supposed to be like satanic, but like white zombie kind of poppy satanic stuff. And then there's a guy on an overhead drawing as they're playing. So this is like their thing. Like they have like, you know, dude on guitar, someone's on keys, drums, and then a guy sketching. And that's what's happening in the background.
Maybe I could be in a band after all.
Yeah. So very cool. And like, especially like the you know, the vinyl expanding and it being slow.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah. It gave birth to this whole other genre of music. So I thought that was really cool.
Why don't we in Canada have the exact opposite, where the vinyl shrunk because it's
goes fast.
It's super fast.
Yeah.
Well, to go along with that,
Dan Diddle, eh?
To jump off of that, Dane, I didn't know that you can listen to podcasts either quicker or slower on Spotify.
Oh yeah.
So I was listening to our stuff slower, and like I listened to the opening track, like their opening thing with like slower and faster. It's quite entertaining. You should go and try it. It's a good time. And then listening to our voices slower or faster, it's hilarious. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Like it's like three times. It's 3 times as fast. Yeah. Hey, my Logic quit too, Dane.
Weird, man.
Yep. It said the disc is too slow. Whatever. I've never seen that before.
I've never seen it. Yeah. Slow. Thanks a lot, Apple. What are you doing?
So I died at 1 hour and 16, Mike. So we just got to go with the Zoom recording, I guess.
We can figure. I'll figure it out. It'll be okay.
I don't know why, but that's the first time I've ever seen that.
It's going to sound like you're on the other side of the room, and then it's going to sound like you're right in front of my fucking face.
I'm a pro. I'll make it work.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Weird, man.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, me neither.
In my life, but
there we go. So much for investing in pro gear, right?
Oh yeah,
pro-ish gear.
Garbage.
Yeah, guys, watch your timers if it stops.
Well, if we could end this on a quick hit for each of us. What would you pick for a one last deal? Sure.
Want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have it with me, but I will say he's done it very well throughout his catalog. When he chooses his art, whether it be abstract art, which he does, or photography, Trent Reznor is able to put artwork on his cover that tells you exactly what that record's going to sound like. Like if you look at the cover of Downward Spiral, that is exactly the visual interpretation of the way that album sounds. Fair enough. That's kind of a cool thing. Like he's able to do that. So that's the only thing I'll add.
So perfect.
Thought of that. That's a cool. Yeah, that's a neat perspective on that. I've never thought about that.
I'm going to go with Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power. Only for one of the biggest reasons. I mean, the album has always been amazing and brilliant and a huge influence on everything metal for me. But just the hours spent trying to figure out how many times they had to punch that guy in the face to get that one shot.
Have you? Yeah. Did you read the story? Do you know?
No, I was trying to dig up before this and I missed it. So. It looks like they probably hit him like 250 times, and then
they brought some dummy off the street
super fan
and paid him to get fucking slugged in the face.
But you know what? That goes back to what I said about Trent Reznor. that album cover
Tells you exact.
looks exactly the way that album sounds. They achieved the same thing, right? Yeah.
Okay, so Flip better come up with one of the Megadeth albums.
No, sorry. Dave Mustaine we missed it. No, I do remember Countdown to Extinction. I do remember seeing that in the record store and being terrified of that album cover. I remember that. Like, is that guy like strung up, with the like grate underneath him, and he's kind of like dripping down into the grate and one of my favorite album covers of all time is this one.
Yes.
Ooh, Jethro Tull.
Aqualung. Yeah. I don't know what it is about this album cover, but again, it's another one of those ones that my parents had, and
what is going on? I remember
seeing it and just freaked me out. Just the visual of the guy, like the homeless guy kind of on the side. Anyways, yeah. So Jethro Tull.
The first ever Grammy for heavy metal.
Is that right?
God. Yeah.
They beat Metallica.
Yeah. Unreal with the flutes and everything.
Heck yeah, absolutely.
Nothing says metal quite like flutes.
You want to talk about album cover? Get a picture of Lars's face when they said Jethro Tull. Put that on an album cover because his face was priceless.
I don't know how Jethro Tull was slotted into the metal category, but
a real metal fan.
Yeah. But he like thick as a brick. All those album covers were good. Like, but that one especially. So, Dane,
let's finish her off with a really good one.
This is it.
I think so. I mean, you guys are shut it down, and we're at like an hour, almost an hour and a half. So, or do you want to try and hit 2 hours this time?
No. I guess strictly for the album art, and I had no idea who these guys were or are. There's some sort of like weird house. So it says, who are they? This is Joseph Malik. This is remixed reconstructions by Grand Unified and Aqua Bassino. It's some house techno stuff that I found in Holland, but the cover is like
that is badass.
Oh.
It's like this little kid in like an African shirt.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, he's got a control.
There's like a computer in the background, and he's like turning dials. And I mean, like,
hey, that's exactly how you make house.
And topical, because I think Rupert Mead just passed away.
We talked about it on our last episode. That was, that was quite the loss, man. He had without him, you wouldn't have half the albums that we, cherish today, right? So
at least it wouldn't sound the same. Yeah.
Awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, is there there anything else you want to talk about on your end? How else, other ways people can find you, or is there certain galleries that you want to promote, or something little?
You know what?
Or basically just the website.
We kind of covered at the beginning. Yeah, hit the website, make it worth its while. So we've got the galleries listed there. Looking forward to get back doing shows. Hoping for a kidney transplant in the summer. So looking forward to be able to do art shows again in the fall. So keep an eye out for that.
Cool. Yeah, your stuff is awesome. Mike showed me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice to have you on here too.
Yeah, it was fun, guys.
Definitely
a lot of fun.
Track down your new King Nothing for my studio too. That one's bitching. Okay.
Very cool.
Well,
do you have a website? How do you get your art?
stickmanfineart.com. And then there's a big list of galleries on there. You have to go through galleries. I don't sell direct. But there's a list of galleries on the website on where to find me, just call up the galleries and you can order it through them.
Sweet.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for the hang. And it was kick ass. Cool.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime you guys want to talk shop, I'm down. Cool.
Right on.
All right. Peace
Thanks,
out.
fellas.
You betcha.
See you guys. I'll get one of those.